I called. I was like, Deborah, just tell me, when in American history modern has this been done and what were the results? Because I kind of feel like, we're flying blind here and we may be doing things that could be damaging. And she said, she's like, it's kind of our own science experiment.
What's going on, folks? We have a 3-part show for you today. DeSantis claims that Dr. Birx essentially said it was a little experiment they were doing, locking everyone down since they didn't have the data of how that would work out. We'll watch that full clip from Blaze TV. Tucker Carlson got Trump, DeSantis, Mike Pence, and others to answer what they would do with the Ukraine war policy.
Last week, we sent a questionnaire to every Republican presidential candidate, announced and potential, asking about Ukraine. We posed 6 questions. Is opposing Russia in Ukraine a vital strategic interest for America? What's our objective in Ukraine and how are we going to know when we've achieved it?
Which is super helpful. Thanks, Tucker, for doing real journalism.
What is the limit of money and weapons you'd be willing to send to Zelensky? Have U.S. sanctions been effective? And does the United States face the risk of nuclear war with Russia? It's kind of presumptuous for a cable show to send these, but no one else in the media seemed to be asking them, and we thought we should.
And we'll play the clips of Trump, Pence, and DeSantis and see what they do.
The first presidential primaries are 10 months away. Voters should know where their candidates stand on the big issues, and this in some ways is the biggest issue. So tonight we're happy to report that virtually everyone we asked responded. Nikki Haley ignored us. John Bolton said he was too busy doing some unspecified thing.
Third story is Bryson Gray was going to perform at a GOP event in Florida, but hundreds of Trump supporters called to cancel Bryson because he's been too critical of Trump recently and they didn't want him to perform and successfully canceled him. We're going to talk about this growing version of cancel culture on the right. Should be a fun show, folks. Scarf Lady bad. The show starts now.
It's the Dream Rare Podcast. Welcome to the show. The way to get the news at the desk or on the road. Let's go. God is great and success in our control. The world is crazy, but we get better from obstacles.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to today's episode of the Dream Rare Podcast. I'm wearing a giant scarf to combat Dr. Deborah Birx's uppity fashion sense. So that's the first story we're going to talk about. DeSantis said that she said we're basically an experiment of sorts. We'll play those clips. Second story of the day is Tucker Carlson asked, I think, 5 or 6 candidates for the Republican primary what their stance on the Ukraine war is, which is very helpful. So we're going to play that and listen to Pence, Trump, and DeSantis' stance on the Ukraine war, according to the report they gave to Tucker. And the third story of the day is, there's a police. They're trying to arrest Deborah Birx because she's just got too bad a fashion. Anyway, third story of the day is Bryson Gray's performance got canceled because Trump supporters that like Trump so much were mad that Bryson's been critical of Trump recently, so they got him canceled at a right-wing event. Crazy stuff. But first I want to say, this is before I play the clip, to Dr. Deborah Birx. You think you're better than me, Dr. Deborah Birx, because you wear a scarf, you role play, dress up like Grandma Dora the Explorer. I have a scarf too. What's yours? Louis Vuitton? Oshkosh B'gosh? Oh, you're so great. Oh, I'm Deborah Birx. I wear scarves. You're not the only one, okay? So get over yourself. Let's play a few clips.
You talk about this in the book with Birx, and it's a little terrifying when she said, well, this is kind of just our little science experiment.
Very much so.
Can you tell that story?
So the White House task force was hammering me for the first 3 months because they wanted me to be clamping down harder, and she so I called. I was like, Deborah, just tell me, when in American history modern has this been done and what were the results? Because I kind of feel like, we're flying blind here and we may be doing things that could be damaging. And she said, she's like, it's kind of our own science experiment that we're doing in real time. And that didn't sit well with me.
No.
I mean, you're a citizen of a republic. You're not a guinea pig.
Hey, excuse me, Mr. DeSantis. This is Dr. Deborah Birx here, and you are an experiment. I look like a pasty, pale psychopath, but I wear a scarf and all, so I must be smarter than you. So maybe let's just all lock down and get vaccines so Pfizer can have record profits, right?
And so I think that there's a whole bunch of other things I talk about in the book. You remember the George Floyd riots when the epidemiologists, because people were saying, you've been telling people you have to stay in your home. And in Florida, they were killing us because even in those early days, when we were following federal guidelines loosely, but we were following some, we were playing golf. I mean, the villages, they're setting record for golf. People are boating, all this stuff. They were so mad at Florida for doing that. People on the beach, all this stuff.
You don't understand, Ron. It's fascism to be on a boat, but the only way you should be in the streets is if you're destroying buildings for George Floyd, because then we've determined that racism is a bigger disease than COVID, and it's okay.
That was their position. You are killing people if you leave your house. So then all these people are, like thousands of people are protesting. 2,000 of these epidemiologists write a letter saying, we do not condemn these protests because of COVID. Indeed, we think they're vital for public health because they're fighting racism.
It's a bigger disease than COVID.
And so that's when I knew. Is this public health a clan of people? They are sick. I mean, they are ideologically captured, and these are not people that should be anywhere near the levers of power. So I basically, from that point on, I would exclusively listen to a very handful of people. Bhattacharya from Stanford, Martin Kaldor from Harvard, Scott Atlas, Sunetra Gupta from Oxford, and then my Surgeon General, Joe Latipo, we brought in from UCLA. Great.
What are all those kids doing playing outside? They should be inside getting fat, eating Fruit Loops, eating Lunchables from the Heinz.
Biden literally green-lighted some sort of kids are going to eat Lunchables now, like the Lunchable lobbied politics or something to get lunch. I feel like I just got choked out by Khabib or something, or Islam Makhachev. My neck hurts. I don't know how Dr. Birx's head doesn't fall off with that scarf so tight. I'm not an expert, but we should get an expert in there to make sure that scarf's not too tight, because sometimes when you pull it too tight, Dr. Birx, the blood starts going to your head, and maybe that's why you're such a garbage leader during these tough times. But anyway, jokes aside, where were we? Oh, yeah. Ron DeSantis said that she basically said it was some sort of experiment, and I appreciate him for at least bringing that to light of some sort. So we'll talk about Trump and DeSantis a little bit, and then the last story about Bryson Gray. But I do want to get into, so Tucker Carlson did actual journalism and got a bunch of candidates to really give their policy on the war in Ukraine. So I'm going to play the clip of Trump, I'm going to play the clip of Pence, and then I'm going to play the clip of DeSantis, and I'm going to read some comments maybe before I even give my own opinion, and I want to see what you guys think. What do you think about their stances on the Ukraine war? So let's start it off with Donald J. Trump and what he responded.
So former President Donald Trump, who as of tonight is the front runner for the Republican nomination, sent a long and really interesting response. Russia would never have attacked Ukraine if I were president, he writes, not even a small chance. Trump says he opposes regime change in Russia. Quote, we should support regime change in the United States. That's far more important. The Biden administration are the ones who got us into this mess. Trump repeatedly refers to the risk of nuclear war, which he describes as absolutely real, and then he calls for a negotiated peace by Ukraine mediated by the United States. Quote, both sides are weary and ready to make a deal, Trump writes. The meeting should start immediately. There is no time to spare. Death and destruction must end now.
He said that they should support regime change in the United States. That's pretty funny. All right, let's see what Mike Pence said, Trump's vice president, when he ran.
Trump has been saying things like this and predicting this for 5 years now, and he's saying it again. What's interesting, though, is that Trump's former vice president, Mike Pence, who was also running for president this year, opposes his old boss on nearly every point. We're paying the Ukrainians to fight Russia, Pence writes, so we won't have to fight Russians ourselves. Pence endorses even stricter sanctions against Moscow. He dismisses the risk of nuclear war as a, quote, bullying tactic from Putin. And then Pence suggests that anyone who disagrees with his views on Ukraine is a disloyal American. Quote, there is no room for Putin apologists in the Republican Party. Mike Pence did not specify who he was talking about, though we suspect this show is included in that treasonous category.
I mean, before I play the DeSantis clip, what's so interesting is I agree with Trump essentially on what he said with Ukraine, that we need a peace negotiation. I completely disagree with, Pence. Pence is just like another Democrat or neocon, left-wing, right-wing, false paradigm, start a war. The crazy part is just, and I know we've talked about this a bunch and everybody's talked about it, that Trump constantly surrounds himself with people who hate him and constantly, he could choose anybody he wants for the vice president. Why would he choose somebody like Mike Pence and then complain about it afterwards? Like, oh, Mike Pence. It's like, you chose him. Like, this is my question with Trump and DeSantis. Like, who would Trump choose as vice president? Who's he going to put in his cabinet? Who would DeSantis choose? You know, these are questions that I pray that a journalist asks, because people are like, oh, you're so hateful. No, I'm not an idiot. You know, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me 15 times, it's American politics. I really want to know who these people are going to surround themselves by, because I wasn't impressed with the first go around. And, you know, DeSantis is a question mark. But let's see what he says about Ukraine.
And then maybe the most newsworthy response that we received was from Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. DeSantis has well-known views on many topics, of course, but until tonight, no one could really say with precision where he stood on the war in Ukraine, which is arguably the most important topic in the world. And now we know. DeSantis is adamantly opposed to the position that most Republicans in Washington have taken on Ukraine. DeSantis is not a neocon. Who knew? Quote, while the U.S. has many vital national interests, DeSantis writes, securing our borders, addressing the crisis of readiness within our military, achieving energy security and independence, and checking the economic, cultural, and military power of the Chinese Communist Party, becoming further entangled in a territorial dispute between Ukraine and Russia is not one of them. Without question, he writes, peace should be the objective. The U.S. should not provide assistance that could require the deployment of American troops or enable Ukraine to engage in offensive operations beyond its borders. F-16s and long-range missiles should therefore be off the table. These moves would risk explicitly drawing the United States into the conflict and drawing us closer to a hot war between the world's two largest nuclear powers. That risk is unacceptable.
There's another clip I'm going to play, but it's so funny listening to him and Trump, because they said very similar things, but Trump is like very simple. It's what I thought was amazing about him for a couple years, and recently, depending what he says, it could be great or just kind of annoying, but he's very simple and to the point, like, no, you know, and then DeSantis is more like well thought out, longer form stuff. One could say it's more political. You know, it's just like, it's so funny that, like, you know, DeSantis, when he talks, he's like thinking about all angles and he says like a lot of stuff, and Trump's just like, no, you know, but the pro is like, oh, I get it. It's simple. It's not, you know, you're not running me around. But the con can be sometimes it comes off a little clowny, especially more recently. At least to me, the first 3 years, I didn't mind it. I thought it was like simple and easy to get. Recently, I've been just hearing certain things and being like, it's goofy. But let's listen to the last clip real quick, and then I'm going to read some of your comments. Let me know what you think about all three of these, and I'll read yours first.
DeSantis goes on to oppose the policy of regime change in Moscow, which is very popular in Washington. And he points out that the Biden administration has created an alliance between Russia and China, and that's a disaster for the United States. Quote, we cannot prioritize intervention in an escalating foreign war over the defense of our own homeland, especially as tens of thousands of Americans are dying every year from narcotics smuggled across our open border, and our weapons arsenals, critically for our own security, are rapidly being depleted. So that's DeSantis's position, clarified.
All right, I'm going to read a few of your comments like I promised. So the AC guy on YouTube said, we're not buying the word salad from these politicians anymore. Knowledge said, witchcraft is old school word for psychological warfare. Solomon said, Trump hired the wrong people and he complains like a little kid. Let me see. Someone said, Pence is a two-faced clown. They both made accurate statements, both vying for presidency. Someone said, I'm starting to like DeSantis more and more. Someone said Trump never once mentioned the China virus. Is that really him? All right, so I promised I'd read a few of your comments. Sometimes I forget, but I guess I'll say this on foreign policy. You know, that's the question mark that people have for DeSantis. Like, who is he going to be when he's in office? And, you know, I think Trump is really going at him because obviously it seems like DeSantis is going to run. So Trump's getting ahead of it, and he's trying to basically brand DeSantis as like a neocon. He's Bush. He's going to do all the same things that Bush did. And, you know, I don't know if that's exactly true, but I'll talk about it maybe a little bit at the end too. Here's my thing. This goes in with what I'm talking about with the Bryson Gray story at the end too. I've said it a few times, but I'm trying to word it properly and thoughtfully. I think it's good that people question DeSantis. I think Tucker's doing a good job asking journalistic questions. I think this republic would be better if there were better journalists. And honestly, like, you could be who you want to be. Like, no one's telling me what to be. No one tells me what to say. I do what I want when I want. I am inspired to do certain things and I do them when I want, but I try to do a good job. I understand with great power comes great responsibility. I don't have that much power, but I can make an impact. So I think about it, I'm going to get into this later with the Bryson stuff, but even when I was backing Trump 19 times out of 20, I personally was always just trying to call it as fairly as possible and just be as real as possible. So I think a lot of influencers on the right have become like professional fans, professional like activists, professional team players. And I would love to see more influencers do real journalism, real journalism against the left, the right, DeSantis and Trump. I feel like people are being very childish. It's like, preschool, like, Bobby's at my table and Susie wants to sit with Billy. Billy should have sat with Johnny. It's like, grow up. The sad part is I'm not even that old when it comes to politics. I'm 33. You got 50-year-olds, 40-year-olds, people with families fighting over stupid stuff, acting like children. It's like, listen, I'm all for a good, conversational battle, but it's just like sad that people act so childish. So let's try to do honest journalism. And, I think I'm going to talk about the last story because it all kind of weighs in with Trump, DeSantis, etc. So the last story is, Bryson Gray. I have multiple songs with Bryson. He's a hip hop artist. He was super MAGA. You know what I'm saying? He did multiple albums like that were Trump themed, MAGA themed, conservative themed. He was supposed to play at a dinner in Florida. I guess it's the Lee County GOP in Florida. They were throwing an event. I have the flyer in my hand. It was going to be Bryson Gray, Michael Thompson, Congressman Byron Donalds, Congressman Greg Steube, Roger Stone, Forgiato Blow, and apparently they booked President Donald Trump later, and Trump is obviously like the biggest draw. It's Donald Trump. So, Bryson, I want to be as fair as I can be because I obviously like Bryson as a friend and we've collaborated. He's going to get a little more backlash than I am, even though I've gotten a lot of backlash too from people who like Trump if I disagree. But I made one song called I Like Trump. I never wore a MAGA hat. You can't find a picture of me in one because I never did that. My biggest Trump video was why I didn't even vote for Trump in 2016, why I think he's not that bad. And it got like 20 million views because people were like, oh, this kid used to be left wing and not, So my angle was always kind of different where, Bryson did do a couple MAGA Trump, really like, Trumpy things, always wear the MAGA hat, etc. So I think people are being a lot harsher on him than they were on me because that was really like his lane for a minute, even though he did other stuff. I just think he's getting a lot more backlash because people are like, you're selling Trump merch, you made like multiple Trump albums, and there's a lot of backlash against Bryson right now because Bryson's being honest and people are not letting him evolve with like current politics. So it's like, when Trump says something about pro-lifers and says they cost us the election, Bryson disagrees. And he has data to back it up. He has every right to disagree with Donald Trump. When it comes to certain things like the vaccine sales, etc., I think, Bryson disagrees. And certain things that Trump does and says, Bryson doesn't always agree with Trump. And that's a good thing. I don't think that's a bad thing at all. But there's a lot of people that are trying to like mess up Bryson's career because he won't just agree with Trump all the time. So here's the point that I'm getting to is Bryson was scheduled to do a rap song or a rap performance at a Trump event or an event. It was a GOP event that Trump was speaking at. It wasn't like just his event. And hundreds of Trump supporters and I would say like Trump sycophants called and got him canceled. It's right-wing cancel culture. They said, you can't have this guy on the stage with Trump. He's criticizing Trump. He's talking trash about Trump. Hundreds of people called the lead GOP and got Bryson's performance canceled. So now you have Trump supporters canceling a Trump supporter because he says he might not vote for Donald Trump. He says that Trump isn't appealing to him right now. I mean, it's really lame. I don't know any other way to put it, but it's like, it's very odd. I didn't see his whole debate with this guy, Brendan Dilley. I don't know everything about Brendan Dilley. Maybe he was like a big Q guy or something, like trust the plan. Maybe he wasn't. Maybe he's just like a Trump ride or die, like Trump is his whole world. And, there's no space to even critique him. And once you like Trump, you're never allowed to disagree with anything he does. And you got to I don't know his deal, but I just know that he's kind of leading the charge. Like, we got to cancel cancel Bryson's performance. Like, we can't let him speak on a stage with Donald Trump. And, someone said they've become so toxic. I mean, I agree. I don't care if you vote for Trump. If you say, I want to vote for Trump because of his foreign policy, cool. If you say, I want to vote for DeSantis because I like his stance on vaccines better, a little, cool. If you say, I think Trump is more of an outsider, cool. I'm not going to bash you for feeling that way. It's just like, I get that there's a real conversation for both, but this is like, and I'm reading some of the comments of people that are like, saying why they canceled Bryson's event. They're like, well, Bryson was saying we were acting like cultists, so we proved him right. We are acting like cultists. You're canceled. They're like, ha ha ha, this MAGA grifter will, his 15 minutes of fame is over. So because, I guess Bryson was super big on Trump now, it's like he's got to just like Trump forever. I guess outside of being Bryson's friend and collaborator, I understand why people feel that way. I'm trying to be thoughtful to both sides. I understand why people feel like you wear the MAGA hat, you rep MAGA, you drop multiple albums that were like MAGA and Trump themed. You have dozens of songs with Trump themes and MAGA, like not just one. So they feel like, you rode Trump so far, how dare you turn your back on him right now? Because you really used him to get to the spot you're at. People say the same thing with me, but it's a little more difficult with me because there's no pictures of me in a MAGA hat. My biggest video, I said I didn't vote for Trump in 2016. In hindsight, I would have, but I wasn't smart enough then. I wasn't wise enough then. So it's like I was never the person people are trying to paint me as. They're like, all you did was back Trump. I backed him 19 times out of 20 because I thought he was right, and he was right. I was doing journalism, but when Trump passed the speech law for Israel in 2019, I disagreed. When Trump did the lockdown in 2020, I disagreed. You could follow my track record. I wasn't just agreeing with Trump on everything. It's just he was doing most good things. When he did the bump stock ban, I didn't agree. You could find times in 2018, 2019 where I was like a little iffy, but most of it was good. So I'm like, Trump's crushing. Like, what? I'm not going to hate on him. I'm just doing reporting. I always did that. So even though people try to pin me as that, they can't. With Bryson, they're having an easier time, I guess, or they're trying to. But, Bryson's a warrior. He'll never cave. He's an individual. And even though he really liked Trump for a while and definitely rode the train, I think it's his right to get off. He doesn't have to stay on the Trump train forever. And if Trump is being weird or whack or corny, Bryson has every right to pivot. People can feel that way, but are you the right side when you're trying to cancel somebody who does like Trump, but they just think he's not doing good things? Like, these people think they're on the right side. Someone said, I love MAGA. I don't really like Trump now. It's getting really toxic. Like, dude, I'm not even going to get into specifics because I don't care. I've heard it all. People got mad at me when I was against the lockdown early on. But like, I have people essentially, I wouldn't say like fully blackmailing me or anything, but basically like they're mad that I'm saying Trump's selling the vaccine. I'm not saying Trump mandated the vaccine. I never said that. Trump didn't mandate the vaccine. I've never claimed that. But Trump does sell the vaccine. When he says the vaccine saved 100 million lives, that's a sales pitch. When he says it's the greatest modern achievement, it's one of the greatest achievements of mankind, Trump said that, that's a sales pitch. Trump is selling the vaccine. So you got people blackmailing me personally, using personal things, because I'm just speaking reality about something that's public. I'm not digging into Trump's personal life. He did Operation Warp Speed and he's proud of it. And I disagree with that. Is that okay? No, it's not okay. You got people that are going to try to destroy my life because I disagree with Trump on vaccine topic and they're going to lie about me. This is how evil, like these people are demonic. You know what I'm saying? They're like possessed. They're cultish. So, I don't know exactly the back and forth between Bryson, but Bryson is a principled person. If the GOP is pushing gay stuff and Bryson doesn't like it, he's not going along with it. He doesn't care if it's Trump or Richard Grenell. That's just who Bryson is. And I feel like, what is it, a life sentence? If you like Trump, you got to like him forever. You can't ever disagree with him. It's psychotic. These people are going insane. And the crazy part is there's a real argument for Trump over DeSantis. I'm not sitting here saying DeSantis is perfect and Trump is the worst. I've never said that. I understand the pros and cons and I get both sides of the equation. But the thing is, you got to convince me and millions of people why Trump's better. If you act like psychopaths and cult members, nobody's going to like you anymore. You're building like a demonic movement of like, and it's like, stop. Can you sell me on why he's better? Can you sell me on it? Or are you just going to harpy out and just like try to threaten everybody when they disagree with you? It's insane. You're going to cancel a rapper's event because he doesn't kiss Trump's ass? You're not allowed to perform on stage with Trump unless you agree with everything he says. People are going insane. Someone said it's all about me. It's not about me. I'm not the only one. There's people in the comments. There's millions of people who are going to vote for DeSantis. There's millions of people who are going to vote for Trump. That's just how it is. I don't know what the percentages are going to be. Tens of millions of people like Donald Trump more. Tens of millions of people like DeSantis. Here's what you have to ask yourself. Are you going to act like a psychopath and just hate on everybody who disagrees with you? I speak about Trump and what he did. I'm not saying if you like Trump more than DeSantis, you're garbage. I'm going to find things about your personal life and try to ruin your life. Am I doing that to anybody? Of course not, because I'm not a demonic psychopath. So the point that I'm getting to is, the GOP, you don't have to like DeSantis and you don't have to like Trump. It's not a mandatory sentence that you have to like a politician. And if you voted for Trump in 2016 and 2020, you don't necessarily have to vote for him in 2024. He's supposed to earn your vote. But how is he going to earn your vote? By letting a bunch of operatives and people who work for agencies, and I'm not talking about everybody, but there are people that are literally that's what they do, is political, ads. And I don't know the name of the strategies thing. The one guy's going crazy over DeSantis and he works for an operative agency. I'm not knocking it. That's his job. He gets money from politicians and he does PR for them. But it's and then there's a bunch of people that also agree with it. Naturally, that's okay. But it's that's your strategy, to just go nuts on everybody who slightly likes DeSantis more than Trump. You're not trying to sell us on a policy. You're just trying to beat down at the people who are different. It's insane to me. So it's I could tell you both sides of the equation, and I've said it here multiple times. I get why people would like Trump more. He's rough around the edges. He's funny. He's a bulldog. He's been there for 4 years. Some people think that, he's got unfinished business, and some people really trust him. When it comes to DeSantis, I get why people would like DeSantis more. I feel like DeSantis talks a lot less. He doesn't cause a huge clown show every time he does everything. And he executes on stuff very quickly and methodically. And when he answers a question, he seems a lot more thoughtful and speaks about stuff. And Trump is more one word, simple stuff. It's all preference. I get it. I think DeSantis is better on big pharma. And I think that DeSantis hires better. But who knows? I don't know who he's going to hire. Maybe he'll hire neocons. Maybe he'll hire people like Joseph Ladapo. Maybe Trump's learned his lesson. Maybe he hasn't. I don't know. It's just you can't bully me into thinking what you're thinking. It's when a Democrat says, oh, if you don't agree with me, you're a Russian bot. You're a Russian bot. All they did was push people to the right. It's ew. I'm not Russian. I have nothing to do with Russia. I just don't like Hillary Clinton. You trying to treat me like a garbage can isn't going to make me like Hillary Clinton. That's not how it works. And it didn't work. So that can't be people's strategy. Sell people on why Trump is good. Don't just beat down at them for thinking differently than you. And certainly it's you can't perform at an event with Trump unless you agree with everything he says. You have to be a bootlicker and ass kisser in order to even rap on a stage with them. That's what they want to do. Hundreds of people who like Trump borderline religiously are going to call the Lee County GOP and say, oh, you got to cancel this Trump supporter because he's criticized Trump too much recently. And because he criticized him too much, he shouldn't even rap at the GOP event. I mean, it's and they listened and they canceled him. It's pathetic. Someone said it's Zion Don versus Zion Ron. Pretty much. I mean, that's true. The funniest thing too is certain people that are critical of me, they're oh, I bet the Zionists paid you to say that. It's you realize that the Zionists have swallowed up Trump and DeSantis. It's not like Trump's above it. He's been the most pro-Israel president ever. Maybe he'll be different. DeSantis probably won't be different. Obviously, they both pass speech laws. They both go to the wall. I'm not telling people to give DeSantis a softball pass if that's your thing, but it just the Trump world to me just doesn't make any sense. You're super anti-Zionist, but you support Donald Trump, who's the most pro-Zionist president ever. The difference between Trump and Israel is non-existent. He is Israel. So if you're anti-Zionist, why are you getting mad at me? And why do you support Trump so much? Because is DeSantis going to be better? No. Is he worse? I mean, in my opinion, he's exactly the same as Trump in that category. So why would you get mad at me? And then there's people that say, well, DeSantis is hanging out with neocons. Trump worked with John Bolton, endorsed Mitt Romney, hired Mitch McConnell's wife, made Mike Pence's vice president. Trump surrounded himself by neocons too. All I'm saying is treat them both the same, right? It's it just doesn't make sense to me. I'm like, it's becoming a cult. You just can't disagree or else you can't even perform. I don't care because I'm not trying to perform there anyway, but it's like, I don't, it's going to be a long 2 years if people act this way. It's very childish. It's very immature. It's very counterproductive. And in my opinion, it's kind of evil. It's like, it's not getting to a point. I'm going to read a few comments. Someone said, soy boy on the right wing, bye-bye. Can you formulate why you think that? I don't like what about what I said bothered you? Can you even pinpoint a single thing I said that bothered you? Someone said Bryson said there was a 95% chance he wasn't voting for Trump. That's fine. This is a Lee County GOP event. So because Bryson won't pledge his vote to Donald Trump, he can't perform at a GOP county event that Donald Trump's speaking at. You have to say, I'm going to vote for Trump. I'm going to vote for Trump or else I can't perform. That's like, what is this? Is this a religion? Should I get an Allah prayer mat with Trump's face on it and pray 6 times a day? Like, so what? So what if he said that? What's the chances I'm not going to vote for Trump? I have no idea, but right now it's pretty low. I mean, I'd rather vote for Rand Paul. At the moment, I'd rather vote for DeSantis. You know why? Because I think he's the same as Trump in almost every category, but he seems like he's slightly less goofy. He has more humility. He hires better people, and he's going harder at Big Pharma than Trump. And if you want my vote, tell Trump to stop saying the vaccine saved the world. So tell him to stop saying that the vaccine is the greatest human achievement. That lack of self-accountability and self-awareness, I'm disgusted by. So, I don't want to vote for Donald Trump either. What's the percentage? I have no idea. But so now what? I'm kicked out of the GOP? I can't speak at a GOP event because I don't pledge my allegiance to Trump. It's insane. And to be honest, I want to interview Ye, the artist formerly known as Kanye West. And my connect at Ye said, Ye wants people to pledge a vote to him to interview him. And I said, with all due respect, I'm not pledging my vote to anybody. I'd love to interview Ye, but I'm not guaranteeing or endorsing anybody. I'm not endorsing Ye. I'm not endorsing DeSantis, and I'm not endorsing Trump. That's not my job. I'm doing news analysis. I want to tell the truth. I am not endorsing any candidate. I'm telling you who I'd vote for if the election were tomorrow. That can all change. I don't even know who's running. And just like there's red flags in the DeSantis camp, there's red flags in the Trump camp. Lindsey Graham is a red flag. Nikki Haley's a red flag. There's a lot of red flags. And all I'm saying is just look at all the red flags and ask questions about them. Don't act like it's preschool and treat everybody like garbage. I don't care if people disagree with me. I understand what I'm doing. I understand that it comes at a certain cost. But the reasons people are getting mad at me are insane. It's just like, it doesn't even make sense. At least if it made sense, I'd be like, no, I understand. Like, that makes sense. But it doesn't, though. Someone said, I don't think he'll be able to run. DeSantis, maybe he will, maybe he won't. Let me see. Someone said quitting Ye was probably as hard as quitting crack. I'm not quitting anything, though. When I talk about Ye, I do news analysis. I'm analyzing what Ye's doing. I'm not quitting. I'll interview him. I like Ye. I haven't been shy about that. I like Ye. But I'm not going to pledge a vote to him. I'm not voting for anybody at this point. I need to do fair reporting. Speaking of which, I want to play this clip of Mark Levin. I almost forgot about it. Mark Levin claims that Nick Fuentes and Ye were trying to turn Trump into literally Hitler. Let's take a watch.
But I want to tell you something else about this Nick Fuentes. President Trump had lunch with him and Kanye West, and they tried to turn him into Adolf Hitler.
He thinks that Ye and Fuentes were trying to turn Trump into Adolf Hitler. That's what Mark Levin says, Mr. I support the Ukraine war. What in the Azov battalion are you talking about, Mark Levin? Unbelievable. Let me see. I'll say this. I'm reading some of the comments. As a citizen and as a voter, the politician, whether it's Trump, whether it's DeSantis, I mean, I'm not even going to talk about Joe Biden, but like say it's Rand Paul or Nikki Haley, who you should never vote for, and Mike Pence, who you should never vote for, they're supposed to earn your vote. So to me, it's just kind of demeaning where it's like, Trump and DeSantis, they should be impressing me, right? I'm watching both of them. Which one of them is impressing me more? Sadly, DeSantis is impressing me more because Trump is being an idiot. Oh, DeSantis barely did anything. The Democrat Charlie Crist was just as good. It's just because it's warm. It's beaches and sunshine. Anybody can do that. Dude, I live in California. I know that that's not true. My vote doesn't even matter, but it's like Trump just keeps lying and gaslighting me. It's like instead of trying to impress me, he's just being dumber and worse and faker, and his base is just getting more toxic and more nasty instead of being like reasonable, like, yo, anomaly, DeSantis is this and Trump is better on foreign policy. Like, that's a reasonable argument, not like, you piece of garbage, I'm going to expose you, you freaking shill, you're paid by DeSantis, and it's like, that's your way of trying to get me to vote for someone, is treating me like that. It's kind of crazy. Let's see. Someone say Ron should stay in Florida. I mean, he's good in Florida, but here's the thing. Like, in my view, this is for the base to decide. I have my personal opinion. Even with this fits into the Bryson Gray story. It's like people say MAGA is Trump, right? You can't have MAGA with Ron DeSantis. You can't have MAGA with anybody else. MAGA is Trump, and it's got to be Trump. It's Trump or nothing, and without Trump, we're done. Here's the thing. Trump, I don't know if he was the first one to say make America great again. I think they said it decades ago. He repackaged it. But in general, Trump absolutely made make America great again like his thing. It was Trump's slogan. I agree. But here's the thing. Did Trump create all those policies? Did he create the border policy? He definitely branded it better and made it his thing, but there have been people who've talked about building a wall for decades. You could watch 20, 30 years ago, certain politicians, they're talking about cutting off trade to China and building stuff in America. So Trump did a great job of branding all this stuff. A lot of it was like Tea Party movement, things that Alex Jones was talking about. Trump packaged it all and said, it's make America great again. This is the agenda. This is what we're doing. I agree. That's like his kind of thing. But to say that like now it's just Trump or nothing, like no one can run against him, I'm not impressed with what he did for 4 years. To me, I'm questioning, this is just my personal analysis of it. Is that really who Trump is, or is it all just an image? Is it just a brand? Like, I'm going to be this guy. Are you really, though? Are you really an outsider? Are you really not taking their money? Are you really fighting the swamp? Who's fighting the swamp with Mike Pence as vice president, Mike Pompeo as secretary of state? Like, that's fighting the swamp? So to me, it's like Trump did a good job branding those things, but I don't really believe it is what it is. It's like, I'm not blown away by his 4 years. I thought the first three were awesome. The fourth one was the worst year ever. And here's my thing is like, I think DeSantis has every right to challenge Donald Trump. I personally think that Trump needs to be challenged. I don't look at what he's doing and what he did and be like, oh my God, that was so good that everyone should get out of his way. It actually wasn't that good. And I want him to be challenged. I want him to get better. I want him to feel like he has to do certain things. And this is kind of, in my view, Trump's campaign strategy. Instead of showing that he's going to be way better this time, he's just trying to destroy anybody who's against him. It's a very selfish tactic. Here's the thing. If you really care about the country and you really care about all this stuff, you got to be honest. I get it. It's an election. You got to get a little dirty. I get that. But like, does he really care? You could think so. I don't think so. That illusion for me is kind of done. So I don't think he looks at DeSantis like, damn, he's running against me. I better be at the top of my game or else this guy might beat me. I think Trump and his supporters are looking at anybody challenging him and being like, yo, anybody challenging me needs to be destroyed. I need to ruin them instead of getting better. If he just got better, it would be a no-brainer, but it's like he's not getting better. He's getting worse and getting more like, sneaky with his tactics. Personally, that's not impressive to me, and that's not appealing to me. But some people it is appealing to. It's just not me. I can't lie to you. It doesn't feel right, and I'm not like pumped. I want to see him have self-awareness. That's what hits hard with me. When I saw Tucker Carlson say, I made a mistake during the Iraq war. I was the problem. I was the media. I was pushing a bad war. I respect Tucker Carlson. I trust Tucker Carlson more. Why? Because he looks at his past and said, I'm not that same guy, and I'm going to prove it. I've seen DeSantis do that. I've seen him do that with certain lockdown stuff. I've seen him say, with the data I have now, I never would have made these decisions. I appreciate that. Do I fully trust DeSantis? I don't at all. But the fact that he has the self-awareness to say, hey, here's what I didn't do and here's why I would have done it differently, it gives me a little more like, oh, okay, that's pretty brave. I've never seen that. Or at least like, that's pretty real. Trump is not that person. He's not like, oh, I could have done this better. He's more like, oh, you said I did it wrong when I did do it wrong. Let me try to destroy your life and stick my supporters on you. It's like, it's a psychotic strategy. And I think it's not going to work, but maybe it will. I don't know. Maybe it really will work. Because, I mean, if Biden could win, anyone can win. But for me, I don't like it. That's just, that's just my personal take on it. I don't like the tactics that he's going with. I want to see him show me why he's the best candidate, not just like blame DeSantis for things he's also doing. Be like, he hangs out with neocons. So do you. He locked down. So did you. He's pushing the vaccine. So did you. You did all those things. You don't see DeSantis running around saying that stuff. I feel like if DeSantis said it, he'd probably pinpoint what Trump did and didn't do versus Trump, where he's just literally like blaming DeSantis for things that he also did. Like, that's why the base is getting more toxic, because the leader is, at a certain point, it's going to push away people that have principles and they're like, nah, that's not it. I mean, people like Bryson, it's like, he's like, nah, I don't agree with that. And then people freak out. Heidi said you can't handle the truth. What's the truth, Heidi? Let me know. You're the truth teller here. Heidi, what's the truth? You said I can't handle the truth. What is it? Voice of Reason said, can we have boosters injected straight into our hearts for maximum warp speed? Can you have boosters injected straight into your heart? Dude, no, I don't think so. All right, let me read some of these comments. Someone said, I'll respect Tucker, not trust him. Same with DeSantis, but I'll take him over Trump. Someone said, Trump doesn't apologize because he's not wrong very often. Okay, so sure. Someone said Trump is spiraling. Someone said Bryson said there was a 95% chance he wasn't voting for Trump, yet he sells Trump merch. I hear what you're saying. I don't sell Trump merch. I never wore a MAGA hat, so I'm in a different category. I hear what you're saying. I still don't think you should have canceled his event, though. I think you have the right to say if you don't like Trump, then you shouldn't sell his merch. That's fair. To cancel his rap performance, I think that's a little crazy, personally. But I'll read this comment. Someone said, Christina said, still a Trump supporter, but I did see the wind go out of his sails when he realized they'd release a blank to disrupt his success. Maybe he understands the answer power through now. Yeah. But here's the thing with even all the operation, like all that stuff, like he's not really outside of it. Like if you look at some of the stuff he did, he passed an executive order for like universal flu vaccines in 2019. Like if you trace the big pharma corruption, in my view, people don't have to agree. If you hire a bunch of pharmacy swampers for your cabinet, you're going to get the swamp. So when the swamp goes over your head and you can't breathe and you're like, damn, the swamp got me, they got you because you hired them. If you win the election, you got to use your power. If you don't use your power, you're going to get in a lockdown. So I don't see this victim mentality. Like I defended Trump 10,000 times, but it's like when you get into office, you can't hire the swamp. If you hire the swamp, you're going to get swamped. Trump hired the swamp. I don't even see anybody telling me, like if Trump's advisors were like, or even Trump was like, here's who I'm going to choose for Secretary of State. I'm going to choose this person for FDA. I would vote for Trump over DeSantis if he showed me I'm not hiring the swamp this time. But all I see is projection and all I see is him freaking out. Do you understand that my vote for Trump would happen if he said, here's my FDA choice, here's my HHS choice, here's who's going to be he hasn't done that. He hired terribly the first time. DeSantis hires better than him now. Perfect? No, but Trump is Mike Pence. That's your vice president? Mike Pence? Oh, Mike Pence hates Trump. Pence is so bad. Trump supporters hate Pence. Who hired Mike Pence? Trump. All he does is that. So it's my right as a voter and an American and a part-time journalist to say, are you going to hire those same people or did you learn a lesson? I'm not being hateful. I don't believe him that he's learned a lesson. Someone that learned a lesson would go on Fox News and say, I've learned my lesson. Here's who I'm going to hire next time. Trump says DeSantis didn't even do anything. It's the Democrats did just as good of a job. It's just because it's hot weather. Like, That's an insult to my intelligence. Does he think I'm so stupid to think that Florida is only well run because of the hot weather? I live in California. It's not true. That's a lie. I'm not stupid. I think he wants his base to be dumber or something, because anybody with, respect for their intelligence is going to be like, listen, I like you, bro, but like, that's pretty dumb. Like at a certain point, like you don't have to agree with everything everyone says all the time. God made you with a brain for a reason. Like I don't want to be insulted by Biden. I don't want to be like, at a certain point, it's like, that's not true. The vaccine didn't save 100 million lives. It's not the greatest achievement in modern history. You can't keep attacking DeSantis over things you also did and get my vote. It doesn't work that way. I don't want to be attacked for saying this. I just want Trump to tell the truth. If Trump starts telling the truth, if he promises he won't hire pharmacy lobbyists again, then I'll vote for him. But if he won't promise he won't hire pharmacy lobbyists, I'm not going to vote for him, because unlike other people, I don't think he's the victim. How are you the victim when you hired the swamp and then the swamp does what the swamp does and then you get swamped? That's what they do. You can't hire big pharma to run the government and expect things to go well. So can you promise me you're not going to hire an Eli Lilly lobbyist to run HHS? Are you going to promise me you're not going to hire Scott Gottlieb again and Jerome Adams and all these losers? Trump has never said that. Why do I have to just say, okay, I just think things gonna be better now, even though there's no signs of it? No, he has to earn my vote. And you know what? As much as people hate, as much as people cry, it's having a real impact. It's like when Tucker asked people about the Ukraine war, he's doing journalism, okay? We need questions. We don't need a bunch of, religious worshipers of a guy. Like, ask him a question. Here's a question that I've said time and time again. I asked David Harris to ask it. Anybody who interviews Trump. In 2018, Bill Gates said that Trump offered him a position in the White House. And also he said he came to Trump with a universal flu vaccine idea. In 2019, Donald Trump passed it as an executive order. So here's my question. If there's any real journalists on the right wing that aren't just bootlickers and like yes men, ask Trump a question. Prove me wrong. I don't want to be right. Prove me wrong. Ask Trump, did you try to hire Bill Gates? You did. Did you do his executive order, the universal flu vaccine thing? Because you basically took his idea that he told you and passed it as an executive order. Like, isn't that a good question? No, we don't want to do journalism. Oh, close our ears. No, like, I don't understand where people are coming at. Don't you want to know if Trump tried to hire Bill Gates? Because if DeSantis tried to hire Bill Gates, I'm not voting for Ron DeSantis. I'm not voting for somebody that tries to hire Bill Gates. Someone said I could prove you wrong. I'm not saying I'm 100% right. I'm asking someone to ask Trump the question, because Bill Gates claims that Trump tried to hire him as a science advisor. And he said, no, I don't have time for that. So ask him. Everybody wants to know, but nobody wants to ask him. There's no real journalists on the right anymore. It's just like professional girls. Everybody acts like they're in preschool. I'm 33. I'm a man. I don't even have like a huge family, and I don't even have time for this nonsense. How do people have time for this stuff? They're 50 years old, 40 years old, 60 years old, and they're out here fighting like children in a circle. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. I'm like, how do you have the time or the energy to be such a child? I'm not asking for people to agree with me on everything. I'm just asking for like, what is this movement? Is it a movement of acting psychotic and just yelling at everybody? Or are we going to get some clarity from DeSantis and Trump? I want clarity. I want to know who these people really are, because I've identified multiple industries that seems to control both parties. Bankers, pharma, and, a certain class of donors that you're not allowed to notice. Super Chat said, too many of us taking Trump winning for 2016 for granted. If he lost, we'd be dead or in a gulag. At least expose corruption. We still have a chance. I guess here's the thing that I'll say as well, is like some people, and this happened with the Q movement too. And please listen to what I'm saying before you freak out, okay? Because I'm going to be very thoughtful with what I'm about to say. All right. Everybody wakes up at different times. It took me a while to learn taxes, and I didn't understand taxes in my 20s. I didn't know the difference between liberal and conservative. I didn't. But I did know that the Patriot Act was a lie. I did know that the bankers control both parties. I was really aware of certain things. But as far as like being an adult, I wasn't aware. So I learned a lot of conservative values in my 20s. I'm not telling everybody you need to know this or you need to act like you're so special if you know it early. I knew a lot of things young. I knew a lot of deep things, but I didn't know the simple things like taxes and conservative values. I had no idea. So the point that I'm getting is this. So many people in the Q movement and in the Trump movement are saying, Trump exposed this, Trump exposed that. We need to, if he didn't do this, we would have never knew this. Speak for yourself. Like, I knew that both parties were controlled. I knew the media was lying. Trump didn't tell me the media was lying. I started doing journalism before I even liked Trump because I knew the media was lying. I started liking Trump because Trump said the media was lying. I liked him because he was telling the truth about that. He didn't tell me that. He didn't show me that. I knew that years before Trump ever said it. I liked him for telling the truth to everybody. But a lot of people never knew the media was lying. A lot of people never knew the Patriot Act was a lie and the Iraq War was a lie. So it's like so many people think that nobody knew until Trump came around. A lot of this stuff people did know. A lot of people knew the two-party system was corrupt. A lot of people know the Bush family was a lie. Just because you found out in 2016 doesn't mean the whole world, has to get on their knees for a vaccine salesman because you didn't know that. Like, it's not like everybody found that out. No, I'm not trying to be rude, but a lot of boomers figured that out because for some reason they just didn't know that. I knew that since I was like 18 years old. I didn't know taxes. I didn't know conservative values. There were a lot of things I didn't know. And I'm not saying I'm so special, but it's like, he didn't tell me all this stuff. I liked him because he told the truth about it. But if he doesn't execute on these things, then at a certain point, it's like, next, you know what I'm saying? Let's get someone in there that can. There was something called the Tea Party movement. They were saying a lot of the stuff Trump was. There was someone named Ron Paul. Ron Paul was saying way deeper stuff than Trump, way before Trump. There's people like Alex Jones and Bill Cooper and David Icke and Robert Anton Wilson. The Bible, Tao Te Ching. There's been wisdom for thousands of years and stuff that's been around for hundreds of years and truth tellers that have been around for 70 years. It's not like Trump invented all this stuff. He packaged it and then, in my opinion, didn't really fully deliver on it. So I'm not of this mind of like, oh, if he didn't expose this, no one would have ever knew. I knew who Hillary Clinton was. I knew who both parties were. I knew that George Bush was a liar. I knew that Obama was a liar. I never was one of these people. When people say, oh, Anomaly was left wing, I never thought Obama was amazing. I knew he was a puppet. I wrote songs about him being a puppet. I just thought maybe he was better than George Bush, like slightly. Or maybe he was better than Mitt Romney, slightly. I never thought both parties were amazing. So many people have blind allegiance to stuff like Trump and Q because they never knew anything before they told them. So it's like they taught me, so I need to be loyal to them. It's like, that's fine. That's fair. But not everyone figured this out in 2017. Like, a lot of people knew that both parties were corrupt for 70 years, 50 years, 30 years, Let me see. Someone said, I learned DC infiltrated our Republican dismantled it decades ago. Yeah, and I'm not saying that I'm like rubbing it in people's faces because there's a lot that I didn't know. But so many people just figured this stuff out. Like you could find a song that I wrote in 2009 called Apocalypse. You should look it up. It's very deep. I'm talking about the world ending. I said, Time Warner, prepare to stop the prince. I'm convinced this. I'm talking about Time Warner Media, how they controlled the media and how they're lying. In 2008, when I was 18, Trump didn't teach me that the media is lying. I liked Trump because I found out he was saying the media was lying and I knew the media was lying. So, it's like, I don't know if that's true, that none of this would have ever come to be if it weren't for him. Like, not really. Someone said, like Bush used to gain people. Yeah, I mean, I never liked George Bush. Maybe that's why I didn't like Republicans, because I never liked George Bush. So I just was like, oh, the Republicans are corrupt because George Bush is corrupt. I was never a Republican growing up. Someone said our tax dollars are helping out every other country and non-citizens instead of assisting American citizens. I agree. It's not good. Someone said spice things up and give me a yay 2024. I'm excited for whenever he opens his mouth again because it's definitely entertaining. I know some people might not like it, but someone said ask Robert F. Kennedy. He knows the story. Dude, Robert F. Kennedy is legit. That guy has a lot to say. Listen to his Jimmy Dore interview. It's really good. Someone said, I don't trust any of the lying, thieving politicians or greedy corporations that give them money to protect them from their crimes. I hear you. Someone said Trump was on everything talking junk about Obama and no one was mad at him but Rosie. Then they started talking about how bad he was and I knew something was crazy was coming. Yeah, I'm not sure what you meant by that, but I'm trying to read some comments. Someone said 100% Trump saved all of us. I'm glad he won in 2016 over Hillary. I voted for him in 2020. Here's the point that I'm trying to get to. I think he needs to focus on how he's going to be better this time. If you lose a game, Trump lost the game. Whether you think it was rigged or not, he lost. He's not where he wants to be. So you have to look at what happened and figure out how to not let that happen again. And as somebody running for office, he needs to convince people and give people the same confidence they had in 2016. He's losing a lot of people, not because people are unloyal. He's not the same person. He's almost 80 years old. Nobody asked him to run around the country being Bill Gates' little vaccine salesman. Like, no one asked him to do that. That was not him in 2018. That was not him in 2019. He's too prideful over evil stuff, in my view. So this is all I'm saying is he needs to show the voters that he's the guy. A lot of voters think he is the guy. Some think he's not. What's going to happen with him and DeSantis? I don't know. I just hope they bring out the best of each other. I want to see competition, but I want to see competition where both of them become the best version of themselves, not a competition where they're both kicking each other, so the one that wins is bleeding. That's not what I want to see, personally. Some people think he did an amazing job and he deserves a second chance. Some are underwhelmed and think he did a horrible job and he didn't finish the job. You're allowed to feel either way, but you got to show me stuff in order to change my mind. Right now, it's been 2 years of the same 4 talking points that don't make sense to me, but I'm always learning. I'm going to read a few things real quick. Let me give you an example too, real quick. I'm going to make this one a longer one. I appreciate you guys staying here. I want to give an example, in my view, of the thing that has changed about Trump the most, that has made him like less on the ball. Do you guys remember Twitter? I don't know if you guys use Twitter. Maybe Trump used Facebook. Do you remember 2016 to 2020? Dude, Trump was on everything. No matter what the topic was, Trump was on it. 5:30 in the morning. Bang, bang, bang. Iran, Joe Scarborough. He was in everything. Obviously, he was the president, but like Trump, you didn't have to make excuses for Trump that much because Trump just was crushing. He was at every topic saying the right thing all the time, all the time. I loved Donald Trump. I'm not a Trump hater. I loved the guy. I thought he was the best guy in the world. I loved Donald Trump. You don't have to tell me how cool he was. I remember he was crushing it. Funny, witty, bang, 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 bang. Trump was everywhere. He's just not that guy anymore. I'll give you an example. Thomas Massey has talked about Yokovich, and this is a big policy that wouldn't be there if Trump was in office. That's why I voted for him. But Biden still hasn't rescinded the travel mandate. Thomas Massey's talked about it. DeSantis has talked about it. Where's the video going viral of Trump talking about Yokovich? I don't know where it is because he doesn't care. It's just like 2021 when the mandates are coming. I'm not saying it's his fault. It's Joe Biden's fault. But Trump's a leader. What's his message? Go watch his old interviews from 2021, 2022. Vaccine, vaccine, vaccine. I saved the world. I'm so great. I'm the vaccine man. Har, 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 har. He doesn't give a shit about me. If he gave a shit, he'd spend 5 minutes on Fox News saying, it's insane that Joe Biden has the mandates. This is nuts. Instead, Trump was on freaking Maria Bartiromo saying, if I was president, there would be no mandate because we wouldn't need one because millions of people would get that shot. And it was rocking. He's a vaccine salesman. That's just what he is. That's not my fault. He wasn't that guy in 2019. Now, DeSantis might be a liar, but you see him talking about Yokovich, talking about this stuff. Trump doesn't talk about this stuff. He's not at the front lines of every conversation like he was. He got too entitled. He got too greedy. He's like a champion who just doesn't want to play anymore. I'm the best. I don't have to prove I'm the best. I don't have to be the best. I just have to yell at everybody else who says I'm not the best. He's not the best anymore. He used to be the best. 2016, he's the best. 2017, Trump's the best. 2018, Trump's the best. 2019, Trump's the best. 2020, even most of 2020, Trump was the best. He's not the best anymore, but he has this entitlement. It's not going to work. I'm sorry. That's just not how the world works. So I'm not someone who hated him. It's just like he's not that good anymore. He's not on the front lines of every topic. He's very self-centered and he's thinking about himself. It's not a good look. You could think it is, but it's not working for a lot of people. But it's working for a lot of people. I don't know. I guess it depends who you are. Someone said, anomaly, you saved more lives with your information than Trump did with his blank jab. I did real reporting from 20, and this is the thing that people get mad at me. I don't care. I can handle it. I chose this life. Boo-hoo. Cry me a river. I'm fine. I'm not a team player. Most people that like Trump just said whatever Trump said. I was doing real reporting on the vaccine all of 2020. So millions of people saw my reporting, saw me talk about how the PrEP Act works, saw me talk about the liability, told them it was synthetic mRNA, which most people didn't even know. I'm not overly prideful because it's a sin, but I'm proud of the work I did in 2020. I didn't sell the vaccine. I didn't do vaccine socialism. I didn't brag about Moderna. That's what Trump did. I don't align with the guy anymore, okay? I'm not that person. I like, that's not who I am. I'm the type of person that you can't pay me, you can't bribe me, I won't sell out. Whatever it costs, I won't lie to the people. He did. I don't care why he did it. I didn't like him because he was a liar. I didn't like him because he was selling vaccines. So say what you want about me. My work's been consistent. I've always been honest. And whether it's Trump, Hillary Clinton, or Biden pushing Operation Warp Speed, I'm going to tell you the truth about it. I don't give a shit. It's not a game to me. I'm not an idiot. I'm not a preschooler. I'm 33, and I'm one of the biggest adults in the room in politics. Everybody acts like a kid. You got 60-year-olds acting like they're 15 years old. It's pathetic. So I'll be here. You know, I'm proud. Every video I did from March 2020 until December 2020, I guarantee you ages better than any of these idiots talking about me. Any idiot that wants to smear my name or say something about me personally, look at what they said from March to December. I think I'm not even just trying to brag, but if Pulitzer Prize wasn't for like Jeffrey Epstein's friends, you know, and it was actually for journalists like it's supposed to be, you know, I would be getting one, because that's how good my reporting was in 2020. In my view, all of it aged perfectly, all of it was accurate, and not a single thing I said is out of context, because I don't lie. I don't just say shit that I don't know. All of it's sourced, all of it's real. You know, from March, April, May, go back and find any video. It's all accurate. I'm not kissing Trump's ass. I'm not saying Operation Warp Speed's a secret plan. I'm not conning people because I'm a big baby saying, oh, maybe the lockdowns are to arrest the bad guys. Yeah, let's all play Pokemon because we're not big enough men to stand up to the real world. You know, if something happens in your neighborhood, let's just hallucinate and say it's a fairy tale, pixie dust. Like, no, I'm a grown man. I did real work. So, you know, people trying to say stuff now, watch my stuff. I've been consistent. And in 2018 and 2019, I stand by what I said then. I defended Trump when it was right. And when he did stuff I didn't agree with, I always disagreed, even in 2019. I don't agree with anti-Semitism speech laws. It's not because I dislike Jews or Israel. That's not why. I just believe in the First Amendment, and I don't think hate speech laws stop hate. In fact, I think all of these laws and all of this donor stuff is rising the hate. People like the Anti-Defamation League are disgusting. They raise anti-Semitism just by being so gross. Like, so the way to stop the hate is to just stop doing crazy, weird stuff and act normal. Like that, you can't legislate speech to stop hate. Racism, anti-Semitism, lesbian, like whatever, you know, there's a word for everything. I believe in free speech and the First Amendment when it comes to social and political issues and racial issues. You know, if everyone else could talk about race, so should you. But just be honest. That's all I ask, you know. But, you know, I've disagreed with Trump before. It's just 2020 was a different beast. But let me read some things. Someone said, toot your horn. Well, I mean, I'm going to stand up for myself when it comes to historical purposes. You know, my favorite tweet that I ever said was that, and it's deja vu for me. One of my best tweets ever that aged like a prophecy was my most hated tweet. I said, I mean, let me find the exact tweet I said. I got so much hate. I got so much backlash. People were talking trash to me, threatening. Like, it was the craziest thing that I've ever experienced. And why were people so mad at me? Because I was right about a topic they didn't want me to be right about. Ready? I'm going to read it real quick. Hold on. This is my tweet before the lockdown. It's one of my best tweets ever. Let me see. I'm being shadow banned now. Let me see. I can't even find it because people are saying if you search my name on Twitter, it doesn't even pop up, but whatever. All right. Let's see. This was March 14th, before the lockdown and 15 days to slow the spread. I said they're going to use this to push medical tyranny, mandated vaccines, government-mandated lockdowns, authoritarian power grabs, even bigger speech censorship. Life will never be the same, and Trump doesn't have a magic plan to save you until the end of time. I'm going to read that again. I said that on March 14th, a couple days before 15 days to slow the spread. I said they're going to use all this to push medical tyranny, mandated vaccines, government-mandated lockdowns, authoritarian power grabs, even bigger speech censorship, and life will not be the same, and Trump doesn't have a magic plan to save you until the end of time. Do you know how many threats and hate messages I got? Because people said, trust the plan. He's going to arrest the pedophiles. You piece of shit. You're working for Mossad. You're this. You're that. How dare you say that Trump doesn't have a magic plan? He does. They're pissed at me because I predicted reality. I'm not even going to say it's a prophecy because it's based on, it's the same thing as Chris Sky. The reason Chris Sky was so accurate is because he's looking at reality and just telling the truth based on evidence. So, I was right, and I got so much hate for that. People calling me an agent, a piece of garbage, get out of Trump's way, shut up, he has a plan. The deep state's so screwed. They're arresting the pedophiles in freaking Europe. They're arresting the Vatican any day now. On Easter, all the pedophiles are going to get arrested. Just shut up, anomaly, 15 days, and then Trump's going to have a secret message. He's got a plan. He's exposing them. Shut up. The same people mad at me now were the same ones crying about me in 2020. Boo-hoo. They're just mad because I tell the truth, and it ages properly. Hurt people. So pray for these people because they're just broken and they're just taking it out on me. But, it's just like, it is what it is. But I just remembered that message alone. Oh my gosh, people got so mad at that. Like, how dare you suggest that these things are going to happen? How dare you suggest that our Lord and Savior doesn't have a plan? Like, all right, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for telling you the truth. We'll let it sink in for a year and then you can talk to me later. Someone said Nasara, Trump, Sarah. Yeah, I mean, that's just like a cope. It's like we have a secret plan to overtake the banks. It's like Star Wars for adults. It's like, well, the bankers own everything. And, instead of just being honest about it and trying to figure out how to make it better, let's just pretend like there's a secret plan Trump has to overturn the banks and save the world. Like, okay, and my name's Pikachu. I'm Ash Ketchum. I put a hat on. I'm going to catch Pokeballs. Like, grow up. It's fine, but it's like, I'm always like, people have no evidence for this stuff. They just say it because it's easier than coping with reality. It's hard to say, damn, we just got locked in our house. It's easier to say, oh, we got locked in our house because Trump's going to arrest the bad guys. It's easy to lie to yourself. It's what liberals do all the time. They just lie to themselves because it's easy, temporarily. Eventually, it'll drive you crazy and you'll turn into a psycho because you're lying to yourself. But in the short term, it's easy. It's like, well, instead of admitting the bankers and Big Pharma run our country, which they do, they still do. The bankers still run our country. Big Pharma still runs our country. It's easier to tell yourself that there's a secret plan called Nasara Gesera that's going to overturn the banking system any day now, guys. I mean, it just hasn't happened. It still hasn't happened. I mean, the banks literally just got bailed out again. The Silicon Valley left-wing banks got bailed out. But like tomorrow, Nasara Gesera will happen. It's not real. If you want to believe that, that's fine. Anything's possible. But it's like, this is like Star Wars for adults. When you don't want to cope with the reality of two-party politics, you just play adult Star Wars. You dress up and, say any day now, put your faith in Christ, God, not politicians, God. Believe in God, not politicians. That's the answer, in my opinion. Let me see. JRS Matt with a $20 super chat says, I know it sounds hateful. I want Israel first conservatives away from America first Christian conservatives until we can sort ourselves out. We have to keep out as well. We can't just sit back anymore. Keep it up. Here's what I'll say. I mean, everything sounds hateful nowadays, but the reality of how things work right now. And I think that people that care about Israel more than America and they're Israel first, it's your American right. It's not hate speech to say, where are your loyalties? I know that they say that's an anti-Semitic trope, but if you're more loyal to a different country than America, it's worth talking about. I don't care what they say. It's not hateful to say, if you're Saudi Arabian and American and you care more about Saudi Arabian, that's not hateful. That's just like unloyal to America. So I hear what you're saying, but I think, you could feel how you feel. I don't know. I think there's always a good way to word it, but I get what you're saying. I'm unapologetic about it. I think there's too many people that don't have loyalty to America. And if you look at the GOP, it's like they'll let a drag queen story hour into CPAC before they let in like Nick Fuentes. That's not a sustainable path. I think that the America First people are going to age. At the end of the day, if it's true, it's true. So if people don't want to hear it, they'll eventually hear it. Someone said, I want Q out as well. Love your work. Thank you. I'll say this about Fuentes. He got rejected. This is just kind of, in my opinion, how the world works. Nick Fuentes got rejected by the GOP. He got rejected by by Ben Shapiro. He basically got blacklisted by everyone. And they said, you can't hear him. You can't listen to him. He's too bad of a person. And what happened to Nick Fuentes? He ended up sitting right next to the most famous person in the world, formerly known as Kanye West. So, they tried to bury Nick Fuentes like a flower, and he sprouted higher than all of them did. I mean, being right next to Ye is, you get what I'm saying, a bigger stage than anybody else could have gave him. So God works in mysterious ways, and at the end of the day, if something's meant to be, it's going to be, whether Charlie Kirk and Ben Shapiro and Matt Schlapp want it to be or not. So it's like, at the end of the day, what's meant to be will be. And I'll say this with Mark Levin and Fuentes. Like, I don't watch Mark Levin that much. I'm sure he makes some good points, but here's what they don't want you to do and why they bury certain people. If you put Nick Fuentes on a stage and you put Mark Levin on a stage and you let them debate, most Republicans, in my opinion, would like Nick better. That's just my opinion. I might be wrong, but I think if you watched Fuentes and Mark Levin debate on stage and it was unimpeded for an hour, most Republicans and Trump supporters would look at Fuentes and be like, he was actually more authentic, less of a victim, more honest, more fair. And that's why they don't let it happen. Yeah, he might be a little rude sometimes. So is Trump. Trump's a little rude, but that doesn't mean that Trump's less authentic than Mike Pence because he's rude and Mike Pence is nice. That's the whole reason people like Donald Trump, because he wasn't nice and he was more authentic. So, they're doing an interesting job, in my view, to basically police what people can and can't hear in the right wing. You can hear this, but you can't hear this. You can see this, but you can't see this. We'll let in a left-wing journalist, but we won't let him in. And it's not going to work. That's my view. If what I'm saying is true, it doesn't matter what you say about me. It doesn't matter what you call me. It doesn't matter what it's good. People are going to figure it out. In my view, I'm starting to notice on a lot of hip hop pages, they're reporting on the crime, right? I follow a few pages, Daily Loud, and a few like rap pages on Twitter. They report on crime. And the comments are talking about racial statistics of crime. And I'm watching the comments. People are like, wow, when did the rap blog turn racist? Or when is everybody so racist? Everybody's not racist. It's just like when there's an elephant in the room that you're not allowed to talk about, but everybody else gets to talk about race, right? You get to talk about race, but you can't talk about it. The elephant's going to get too big. That's just how it works. Because if it's fake, then it's going to go away. But if it's real and you don't want to face it, it's not going anywhere. That's my personal view. Is, if it's real, it's going to age like fine wine. It might not be popular today. It might not be popular in 10 years, but eventually it's going to be popular. Let's talk about the border. I bet when people talked about border security 20 years ago and trade with China, nobody wanted to listen. Oh, who cares about the border? It's not that big of a deal. Well, now it is a big deal because it always was a big deal, but nobody took care of it. So now it's a huge deal and everybody knows it for the most part. That's just how the world works. Like, that's why I don't like... I'm a sensitive person sometimes. I don't like to fight. But if what I say is true, I'm going to try to be thoughtful about it. But I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to stop just because someone doesn't want me to say the truth. If I know it's true, and I'm very sure it's true, I'm not stopping just to make someone else feel comfortable because I know in 3 years it's still going to be true. If it's true, if it's not, then I'm wrong. Then I'll correct myself. But, that's how anything works. Doesn't matter if it's Trump, this person, if the message is true, if the topic is true. Doesn't matter how many left-wingers don't want to hear it. Doesn't matter how many right-wingers don't want to hear it. Doesn't matter if Mark Levin doesn't want to hear it. Doesn't matter if Sean Hannity doesn't want to hear it. Doesn't matter if Rachel Maddow doesn't want to hear it, or the ADL, or, BLM, or the NFL. It doesn't matter because that conversation is going to be had. Because if this is truly an issue and you don't want to talk about it and it just keeps getting worse, people are going to figure it out. We don't want to talk about crime, but we're going to make it worse with our policy. Well, eventually people are going to want to talk about crime because San Francisco, in my opinion, is pretty unlivable. Los Angeles is a shell of what it once was. I'm sure it's had worse times, but it was better 7 years ago. You get what I'm saying? Oh, you don't want to talk about the businesses. Well, they're leaving. So you're going to have to talk about it eventually. I don't care who wants to talk about what. I'm trying to save us a couple years. Like, Los Angeles is going to want to talk about crime. San Francisco's going to want to talk about crime. They're starting to talk about it. They got rid of their DA in San Francisco. Why? Because it got so bad, everybody's like, I can't live here. You can only sit inside and watch TV so much if your neighborhood's not safe and there's crap all over the streets. How long are you going to play this game for? It's not sustainable. And that's why I say everything I say. It's like, I can't solve everything. I understand life is complex. I always try to be appreciative. But at the end of the day, if it's going to be a topic, whether it's now in 5 years, 2 years, like, it might as well have the conversation now. Might as well get ahead of it. I read most of my super chats. I didn't miss any on purpose. I don't have a way to scroll up, but I'm sorry. Let me see. If DeSantis can't run because he's resigned to run law, who would you back? Let me say this. I'm not backing anybody. I gotta call it how I see it. I'm not backing anybody. When it comes time to vote after the debates, I want to watch the debates. I want to take it all in. I've always felt this way. Even when I know who I'm going to vote for, I'm soaking in every moment. As a voter, until I cast my vote, I don't have to vote. You get what I'm saying? So I'll tell people like, okay, I'm not voting for Biden. I know I'm voting for Donald Trump. Like I did that last time. Like I'm voting for Trump. It's not an endorsement per se, but that's who I'm voting for, and I'll tell you why. But I'm soaking it all in, so I got to see who runs. I'm not saying I'm voting for DeSantis. What I'm saying, if the election were tomorrow and it was only DeSantis and Trump, I'd vote for DeSantis tomorrow. My mind can be changed. I'm not that deep in the DeSantis camp. Maybe in 7 months, Trump actually gets his shit together, and I say, you know what, I want to vote for Trump. I'm not endorsing DeSantis, and I'm not saying I'm voting for DeSantis. I'm saying if the election were tomorrow, that's who I would vote for. That can change. I like Rand Paul better than both of them. I like Thomas Massie better than both of them. Nikki Haley, I'm never voting for. Mike Pence, I'm never voting for. You get what I'm saying? There's a 0% chance I'm voting for Mike Pence. There's a 0% chance I'm voting for Nikki Haley. Trump, DeSantis, Rand Paul, we'll see. I'm not going to endorse anyone, though. I'm just going to call it like I see it. And when it comes time, close to the election, and I've made my decision, I'll let people know what I've made. But, I try to treat people like you're not dumb. That's why I get annoyed when when Trump says, "Oh, Florida's so good because of the hot air." It's not like, dude, I live in California. It's nice, but you get what I'm saying? The politics don't match the sunshine. I mean, South Dakota, North Dakota are better politically than California. So it's like, don't talk to me like I'm stupid. I don't talk to my audience like they're stupid. You get what I'm saying? I'll tell you who I'm voting for, but I'm not going to tell you who to vote for. I trust that if you're listening to me, you hear what I'm saying. And I'm sure that there's people who listen to me who listen to a bunch of other stuff. So I'm just trying to be a part of your equation. I'm trying to be a piece of the pie. And if what I'm saying makes more sense than what other people are saying, question what they're saying and see what their answer is, and vice versa. If someone says something that makes more sense than what I'm saying, say anomaly. The Hodge twins said this. What do you think about that? And I'll give you my answer. But I trust my audience. This isn't a cult. This isn't like you have to vote for who I'm voting for. I'll tell you who I'm voting for, but I trust everyone that watches me. Some people say I don't vote. It doesn't matter. That's your decision. I'm going to vote, but I don't care if you vote or not. It is what it is, but I think people can make their own decision. I'm not a big endorser. Like, I'm endorsing this person. You need to vote. Whatever. Someone said anomaly. Tim Pool is doing PragerU ad reads. It's good money, man. It's good money. Do the PragerU ad read. Here's what I do want to say though, real quick. Here's why I'm able to do what I'm able to do. And sometimes I want to do other stuff, but I'm glad where I am. If you do a PragerU ad read, right? This is just an example. Say you're doing a PragerU ad read, and then PragerU just does something like supports a law that is unconstitutional and says, well, this is hate speech. Can you really call out PragerU the same way you could if you were independent, if you're doing their ad read? Not really. So this is how people kind of get captured as well. I'm not saying PragerU's all bad. They do some good stuff. There's some nice people there. But it's like when you immerse yourself in the unit, you become less free. Well, I know that person. Well, I've spoken to that person. And it's like, are you going to criticize your sponsor? If they're paying you $6, $10K, whatever they're paying you, maybe more, are you gonna talk shit about them? Probably not. They're paying you. So I'm not saying it makes him captured or anything, but this is how they kind of get you, is by like, I've had that situation happen to me before, where I was saying that, although I don't dislike Prager, I thought it was very hypocritical that they did a movie called No Safe Spaces with Adam Carolla, but at the same time they were pushing for BDS laws and safe spaces at college campus. So it's like, I asked the question, how could you be against safe spaces for liberals, but for, Israeli stuff, you're pro shutting down protests and boycotts? Like, I don't understand that. I don't boycott Israel, but I thought you have the right to. I don't, So I said that on a podcast, and they were like, didn't air it. Why didn't they air it, in my view? Because they had a PragerU ad read. They didn't want to, hey, here's PragerU no safe spaces, and here's Anomaly talking shit about no safe spaces. That's a real thing. It's like, how are you going to go, like, that podcast got shelved because I was going against their sponsor. I've seen that happen already on a small scale. So this type of stuff does happen. There's a reason certain things aren't talked about. It's not because they're not true. It's like everybody's kind of like kneecapped in a position where they just don't want to like offend anybody. It's like, well, I could say that, but it might come off wrong, and I might get in trouble. And it's like, yeah, but at the same time, what are we really doing? I've told people this, but I had this realization before the lockdown in 2019. I have friends that do this stuff, and I started realizing a lot of people didn't actually care about what they claim to care about. It was like, well, I'm doing this and I'm doing that. I'm like, what about the First Amendment, though? Do you have a principled stance on the First Amendment? Either there is no hate speech or everything's hate speech. You can't say I'm against, talking about gay, like I'll talk about black and gay stuff and that's not hate speech, but if you talk about Jewish stuff, that's hate speech. If you open the door for hate speech when it comes to political, racial, social, other countries, that door's going to get broken open. The First Amendment doesn't exist if it's not for even the most unpopular speech that's nonviolent. And I started realizing that the Republican Party doesn't care. Most of them are all hypocrites. They don't care about free speech. They care about the free speech that doesn't tick off Shapiro and Prager and all their donors that simultaneously don't exist because you can't notice where they're getting their money. I get the game. I've got it since 2019. This isn't new. So, it is what it is. But when it comes to kind of pulling back the veil, I guess I've been disillusioned for years now. It's not like, oh my gosh, maybe the Republican Party's in on it. It's like, yeah, they for sure are. To some extent, they're not terrible, but, they are kind of in on it. But some people don't want to believe that because they watch a program that tells them it's left versus right and we're the good guys and they're the bad guys and we're for free speech and they're against free speech. It's not true. The left is worse, but the right isn't for free speech. I know that's shocking to some people. No. But I watch all these shows that tell me, well, if I have conversations with the show you watch behind closed doors, I bet you they agree with me because I'm not going to go into personal stuff. I'm not that guy. But I know a lot of people, and I've had conversations in public and in private. And let's just say, in public, everybody plays politically correct. In private, they all agree with me. They know exactly what I'm saying. Nobody thinks what I'm saying is hate speech. Nobody thinks what I'm saying is anti-Semitic. They all know the reality of how the system works. Duh. So behind closed doors, 100% of people agree with me. On air, they just don't want to talk about it, right? Because it doesn't come off right, and their boss will be offended, and their donors. I had someone come to me one time after you said that, Anomaly. I did notice the company I work for, all the donors are, and I'm like, yeah, I know. Like they're like, I never noticed that till you said it. I'm like, yeah, that's just how it is. Like I'm not saying it's a bad thing or that you should hate them because but I'm a pattern noticing machine. It's like if 100% of people are like Saudi Arabian from this area, doesn't mean I hate Saudi Arabia. I love a lot of people from Saudi Arabia. It just means I notice that, something's going on. If, Muslims take over Dearborn, Michigan, I notice it's like, I don't dislike Muslims. I actually really like Muslims, but Dearborn, Michigan is not the same Dearborn, Michigan it was 80 years ago. It's just not. It's mostly Muslims now. Just is. Like, what does that mean? Well, it means things are going to change there. The signs are going to start being in Arabic, The food potentially will get better. I heard there's some really good food there because there's a lot of good, Islamic chefs. But it's like things will change. doesn't make you hateful for noticing differences. I'm not hateful, and they can't paint me that way. Sometimes I wish I was, so I could just say it, but I'm not. I don't hate anybody from any country. It's not appealing to me. I've met great people from all over, and I'm like, I get it. At the end of the day, patterns exist and statistics exist, but God made everybody individually, so you're not the net sum of everybody like you. You're you. I'm not responsible for what freaking Brett Kavanaugh does. I'm not Brett Kavanaugh. I'm not another person of my skin color. Like, I'm not that. So I don't treat other people that way. But I do notice patterns, and I'm not going to pretend like I don't, because it's not hateful. It's just reality. It's like just reality. If things change, things are going to change. Like, it's not going to be the same. Someone said Dearborn has the best food. I've heard that. I've heard they got amazing food. I've also just heard that it's turning very like Islamic. I bet you they're rejecting the LGBTQ stuff at the schools though. Muslims don't play that game. They definitely don't like to do that. They're like, no, even in England, like you've heard all the negatives about crime and rape and stuff. Everybody talks about it. They also reject the LGBTQ stuff harder than like white people in England. It's like they're putting their foot down way harder in some cases. Is what it is. Someone said noticing patterns is a sign of intelligence, my friend. Of course, yeah. I mean, it's like in chess, that makes you great. Same with I was talking to my friend the other day about John Jones. He's the best UFC fighter of all time. He's very smart. You can't be that undefeated and beat all these people. How does John Jones win? Well, he's athletic, he's strong, he could wrestle, he could fight, but I'm not going to say most importantly, but part of the equation is John Jones is really smart. If you're not smart, you lose. If you're smart, you don't lose. Like it's hard to never lose. He doesn't lose because he's intelligent. He notices patterns. He studies film. He notices if that person does this and this, he's going to do that. How is John Jones so great? Athletic, good at wrestling, of course. He notices patterns. He studies and he dissects his opponent and knows them better than they know themselves. And then he outsmarts them and out grapples them and outstrikes them, etc. So it's like, yeah, of course intelligence is noticing patterns, putting things together, being like Rain Man, you see numbers flying, you're collecting them. But here's the thing I do want to say though. Some people are hateful and you shouldn't be so hateful. I'm just going to say it. Like some people get very, I would say, nasty. Some people get very black-pilled or what, it's like, so you're responsible for your attitude too. And, it's always better to have a good attitude because some people do have a shitty attitude. And when you have a shitty attitude, doesn't matter if you're the ADL or the quote unquote further right, it's a bad look. You end up being the person that they think you are, so everybody needs to be a little more responsible because just being this or being that doesn't make you, like getting control of your attitude and not being such a negative Nancy or like nasty. I think it's helpful. I think it gets the point across. Like when you're annoying or nasty and you say something, even if it's true, it's going to lead people away. This is my personal, it's not everybody, but people that say certain stuff that I say, everybody has their own method, and there's a lot of people I like, but some people really do have a terrible attitude, and they're really obnoxious, and they're mad at me all the time and stuff. It's like, how is having a shitty attitude about this stuff a good way to spread the message or spread the truth? It doesn't work. So I think at the end of the day, there's some bad vibes on all sides, and I'm not into that. Some Star Lily said a positive attitude goes a long way. It absolutely does. Someone said that's called being an optic cuck. Well, here's what I'm saying, my guy. There's people that don't play an optics game that I enjoy. I enjoy some people that just go straight forward. I'm not saying to just play games. There's some people that don't play games that I love, but they still have a good attitude and a good demeanor. There's some people that just have a piss poor attitude. I'm not even talking about people that are straightforward. It's just like some people think just because they know stuff, they could just act however. It's like people don't have to like you. Doesn't matter if you're Jewish, white, Christian, Muslim. Like people don't have to like you. People don't have to listen to you. So I'm not telling people you have to cuck to the optics and you have to do everything they say, but a good attitude goes a long way. There's a lot of people that are just annoying that are like, I'm just going to be annoying as hell and just be annoying. And that's why I'm right and you have to listen to me. It's like, it doesn't work that way. You're not going to convince a lot of people. Some people play the optics game. Some people don't. I like people on both sides of the aisle. You know, there's people that go so hard in the paint that I'm like, damn, that was fire. And then there's people that say it in a real way, but thoughtfulness, compassion, you know what I'm saying, intelligence, a good attitude, these things will serve you no matter what your ideology is. So don't think that just because you know certain things and say certain things that you don't have to think about these things. It's human nature. It's like if you walk into a room, forget about politics, forget about religion, forget about race. People don't have to like you, and you don't have to like people. I'm not saying that has to be a thing and you have to care what other people think, but it's like some people are just like entitled. Well, I know this, so people don't have to do anything. You know, it's like you are yourself too. Like, you know, in my view, outside of politics and television and whatever, I'm not a perfect person. I've made mistakes. I've had bad interactions, but you know, one thing that I think I'm grateful for and that I'm proud of is like who I am outside of the camera. Yeah, I've made mistakes. Yeah, I've done, you know, I'm not like a perfect person, but it's like if anybody's ever talked to me or met me or had a conversation with me, like I think I'm just as good, if not better, as a person. It's not an act. It's not like, oh, this is who I am on. I've met people that are so outgoing and cool on camera, and then you meet them and they're like nothing like that. It's like a total, they're not even the same person. It's just like they don't even. So, you know, that's how I think of stuff. It's like, I like who I am as a person. I like how I treat people outside of the camera. And just because you know something doesn't mean people have to like you or, you know, that's just my view. Someone said you're a bit over diplomatic anomaly. Well, you know, you could think that and people could feel that way, but my method has really worked. You know, I could let you into my mind and where I started, but like, the whole reason I got into doing what I'm doing, 2016, I always talked about politics in my music, but the reason I dove into it was two reasons, right? I'll tell you where I started, because I didn't start from this like angle that everyone else started from. Two things I wanted to do differently in media, right? I'm one person. I have no manager, no help. I've done all the production myself, gotten 800 million views. I've been very successful. So it's interesting to listen because not a lot of people have gotten these results without a team and marketing budget. I got 800 million views with $0 spent on advertising. I don't spend money like Ben Shapiro and everyone else. So how did I do it? Two things I was setting after. One, important, the media is lying. I don't like the media. I've never liked the media, and I really saw in 2016 how they were operating with Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump, New York Times, Washington Post, CNN. I got it. I always knew the media was lying, but I saw it. I'm not going to say like Rain Man, but it all connected, and I saw who the quote-unquote deep state was. I finally got it. I knew about it, but I could see it in real time. Google, all these people. I'm like, they're all working together. They're all lying, and I'm going to counter them. So that's the one thing I wanted to do. I was like, the media's lying. I know how they're lying. I get it. I understand the internet. I'm going to counter it. The second thing was energy. People could say I'm over diplomatic, but I wasn't coming from a place of I'm gonna scream at people and I'm gonna win the diplomat game, or like I came in. I don't like the energy of politics. I don't like the energy of Fox News. I don't like the energy of CNN. I don't like the energy of MSNBC. I definitely don't like the energy of New York Times and Washington Post. Their energy is garbage. Who cares what you're saying? All these people are annoying and low energy, like low energy jab. So I came in and I'm like, what if I put in Taoist principles? You know, at the time it was like self-awareness, self-accountability, gratefulness, thoughtfulness, compassion, empathy. These things that made me a better person when I was in my 20s that changed my life. I was like, what if I put those into politics? Instead of just screaming at people, I was more thoughtful. Instead of treating the other side like shit, what if I kind of reached out and really had a communication? So what some would call over diplomatic, my most successful video probably ever that got 20, 30 million views, I lost count. I did it from a place of thoughtfulness, empathy, compassion, not saying the left wing, you guys are piece of shit demons. Like, you know, like, here's why you should believe me. I said, I'm not this person. I don't wear a MAGA hat. I'm not screaming build a wall. And to be honest, I didn't even vote for Donald Trump in 2016. Here's why he's not that bad. Here's what he's doing that's similar to what left wingers do. Here's what he's doing that's just common sense. Human trafficking, like basic border security. Here's the media lies about him talking about this and that. And that video blew up. I got people calling, yo, my dad works for this person, for this corporation. He doesn't even watch CNN anymore. You made him stop watching CNN. Now he listens to conservatives. Now he does this. You don't get through sometimes by just being annoying. So it's like and sometimes I fall short, but those were the two principles I started with. One, the media's lying. I'm not going to lie. And two, I want to have better energy, calming energy, funnier, less fearful. You notice I always try to leave on a positive note. It's not like, oh, the world's going to shit, give me money, bye. It's like lifting people up, trying to improve people's lives, not just dragging people through the mud of like, oh my gosh, illegals are coming in, you're all going to die. Like, report on the illegals, build a wall, but make people feel better. So people could say I'm overly diplomatic, but I don't know very many people that have had the results I've had, and I don't believe it's random. I don't think it's luck. I've worked hard, but it's the energy, and even with certain things, it's like, I think people are more receptive and they're quicker to change their mind if you treat them like, a little nicer. Someone said you were lukewarm, so I spit it out. That's fine. I hope you have success. I'm sure whatever you want to do, I'm sure you could do amazing things, my guy. God bless you. Good luck. This is who I am. These are the principles that changed my life, and this is what works in my view. I don't always get it right. Sometimes I get too obnoxious, but I don't see the appeal to how everyone else does it. That's why I do it myself. And hopefully, if you don't like how I do it, maybe I can inspire you to do your own thing, because I know why I did it. Like, they're not doing it right. Let me do it, So if you could do it better, prove it. Someone said draw a line in the sand. I have a line in the sand. Here's the thing. On some hands, I'm too diplomatic. On other hands, my line is too thick. I draw too many lines with Donald Trump. I draw too many lines with the GOP. I draw too many lines with free speech. And then on the other hand, I don't draw enough lines. I draw my line. It's just an energy thing. You know what I'm saying? I come from this realm of like, I can stand my ground, but I don't have to act how other people act. I don't have to be fearful. I don't have to be hateful. I don't have to be ungrateful. You know what I'm saying? I'm not afraid of nuclear war. Like, yeah, I hope it doesn't happen, but I don't buy into this stuff. There's always been conflict. There's always been battles. There's always been recessions. I'm not saying it's good, but at the end of the day, it is what it is. And all you could do is kind of act accountingly. If they're going to lock the country down, am I going to sit here and cry, or am I going to figure out where I'm going to go so I'm not locked in a city for 5 months? It's like everything's just a game of living in the present moment. Like, this is what it is, and this is what I got to do. Michael said, be the change you want to see. Grateful for the legendary energy. Keep being the lighthouse. Thank you, Michael. I appreciate that so much. I mean, I think it's a beautiful time, man. As much as everything's so crazy, technology is a little too much. Like, for an independent artist or creator, it's never been a better time. When I had record meetings when I was 19, 20, 21, I had 1 million views on YouTube when I was 20 years old. They would tell me, you're just a YouTube rapper. Doesn't like, are you a real rapper? You just rap on YouTube. Now YouTube is taking over. It's like they looked at it like, we don't get that. And that was the green light for people to kind of get in and take over. So, there's never been a time where you can get millions of streams with no marketing. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't even need a major label. You don't even need Fox News. You don't need, if you don't like PragerU, you don't need them. You know what I'm saying? I disagree with PragerU on some things. I have some friends who work there who are nice, but I'm not afraid to disagree with them when they're wrong, in my opinion. But I don't spend that much time hating on them because they're not stopping me. They might try to maybe stop something, but it's not gonna work. Just like it didn't work when they tried to stop Fuentes. They tried to stop Nick Fuentes and he got on stage with Kanye West. It's a little bit bigger than PragerU. It's a way bigger stage. So, what's meant to be will be. Nobody can stop you. Nobody can block your shine. It's a great time to hop in the mix. But all I'm saying, and this goes for me too, if you're going to hop in the mix, be the change you want to see in the world. Like, I wanted to be better energy news. I wanted to tell the truth more than the news. I accomplished that. I did. I'm not bragging. Like, the bar was so low. The news was so fake. The news was so dishonest. I can confidently say I've done a better job. And I'm not bragging. It's actually pathetic how evil the news is. So by default, everybody knows I'm way less hateful. I'm way less fearful. And I'm way more honest than the news, but that's like saying I beat a 4-year-old in a basketball competition. You know, it's like that's how bad the media is to me. So I'm not patting myself on the back, but that's what I wanted to do. That was my goal. And I accomplished that. Someone said you wipe your ass with Jay-Z. What? What are you talking about, Leslie? I wipe my ass with Jay-Z? What? Does anybody know what that means? That's the best thing I read all day. Thank you for saying that. I don't know what you're talking about, but I actually enjoy it. I don't know what that means. Does anybody know what that means? I wipe my ass with Jay-Z. I have no idea, but thank you for your stunning analysis of whatever it was. That's the funniest thing ever. I should put that in my bio on Twitter. My bio is I wipe my ass with Jay-Z. People are like, what? What does that mean? Does that mean you like him? Does that mean you don't like him? Like, what does that mean? Are you mad? Are you excited? What? Thank you. Eat the Bugs. That's my new single with Klaus Schwab. Dude, I'm totally not selling out. Guys, trust me. It's just me, Klaus Schwab, Bill Gates. We're just doing a new song called Eat the Bugs. We're trying to get Donald Trump and the January 6th choir off iTunes, you know? We figure if we collab and do the Eat the Bugs remix, you know, we could go -- 1 over Miley Cyrus and Trump. But trust me, trust the plan. You know, I'm totally, Klaus Schwab's just talented, you know? I just really think he's a good singer. Craig said, just posted our live stream on Rumble. Great interview today. God bless. Can't wait to watch it, Craig. That was a great interview, man. Thank you, Craig, for taking the time and being thoughtful with all my songs and the way you weaved in that. It was a very thoughtful interview. I want to say maybe the most thoughtful interview I've ever done because of just how you kind of connected it all. You definitely put some thought and time into it. I appreciate it. That was fun.